So we're talking about Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola. And at age 15, his parents finally decided to give him a proper name. Truth be told, everybody already knew him as Kashimawo, but it felt great to properly be named Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola. He remembered his father uttering those words for the rest of his life. It was a great memory for the man who would now become known as MKO or Abiola, as Feromi already gave us his background history. Then MKO got another idea. He would start a musical band. The musical band played at different parties and ceremonies, which at first did not pay money. He was not paid any money. All they got was some food in return for performing. Are you guys listening? So the band played at different parties and ceremonies, which at first did not pay them any money. All they got was food in return for performing. So that means that Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola, before he rose to become the popular person that we know him to be, he played in a band and they paid them with money, with food, not with money. Can you guys imagine that? So I don't know if you guys know his history. He was actually a very rich man. Imagine if all he did all his life was to be paid by food or paid for his services with food. He probably wouldn't become the popular person that we know him to be today. Oh well. Yeah. So as the band became known, they requested money to be performing. And MKO found himself with enough funds to support his family and pay for his education at high school. So Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola was paid enough to earn enough money to send his own family to school and to go to high school himself, meaning that he was also able to support his family with funds that he made from school. So none of you is too small to have a business idea, not to put pressure on you, by the way, but none of you is too small to have an idea that is paid enough or good enough to support your family in one way or the other. You're not too small, you're not too young. Don't ever look at your ideas as too small or anything like that. All right. So, things were beginning to look good for Moshood. The high school days, in his high school for boys, he attended a high school in Abeokuta. And there was an in-house magazine called The Trumpeter. MKO quickly became the editor of The Trumpeter. His deputy at the magazine was called Olusegun Obasanjo. Does that name sound familiar? What do you know about him?
Was 2 times the president of Nigeria.
Fantastic. Where did you learn this from?
Because we should recite names of our president on assembly.
I can hear you. Everybody else.
I said because he was 2 times the president, and because we should recite name of the 16th president on assembly.
Fantastic. So that means you're doing very well in government and current affairs. Okay. So his deputy at the magazine was called Olusegun Obasanjo when he was in high school. His deputy at the magazine, who is Olusegun Obasanjo, was also destined to make history. He became the president of Nigeria many decades later. MKO and Obasanjo worked well together. Their friendships extended well beyond their high school years. At age 19, MKO joined the NCNC, which is the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, one of the first political parties in Nigeria. He also started working in Barclays Bank, which was one of the first few banks operating in Nigeria at the time. The bank was located over 70 miles away in a big town called Ibadan, very far from home. Does anybody know Ibadan here? What do you know Ibadan for?
Ibadan is actually a state in Nigeria. I mean, capital in Nigeria, Oyo, Ibadan. So, Ibadan, I kind of see it like a village. Well, once when I was going to Ibadan, the road was kind of tattered, and Ibadan, kind of.
I think Ibadan has the largest university in Lagos. Yes.
First, yes. And I schooled in the University of Ibadan, by the way, so it's not a village. It's not a village. Okay. While he was still in high school, he met the love of his life called Simbiat. She was born into one of the most prominent families in Nigeria, the Soaga family. Simbi, as her friends called her, was 1 year younger than Abiola. They both fell deeply in love with one another. His family was not very thrilled. Her family, pardon me, was not very thrilled with their daughter's interest in Abiola. Her entire family argued, but she refused to listen to them, pretty much. So her family basically wasn't very happy with his financial status because Simbi was from a very rich home. Simbi was from a very prominent family, very exposed, very rich, grew up very happy. But Abiola didn't grow up the way she grew up. I think I told you guys that he had to work for his money. He had to sing in a band and earn some money to go to high school. But Simbi's family was very rich. In fact, I'll give you a fact from their union. Because when they finally got married, she was insistent about getting married to him. When they got married, he first learned how to eat eggs in her house because eggs were such a luxury thing for families back then. It was only families of rich people that ate eggs in Nigeria at the time. So yeah, let me read on for you guys. MKO went on to university in Scotland, in Glasgow, Scotland. He had received a scholarship from the Nigerian government to attend the University of Glasgow, where he would study accounting. Does anybody know what accounting is about here? Accounting, yes.
Accounting is basically is a job that someone does. Like if you are working in a company and they call you the accountant, you're like the person in charge of the money. Like if someone is paying, the money is coming to you, and you're the one giving the change. So that's what I know about accounting.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that's pretty much a summary of Abiola's life. Okay, would you like to ask a question? What do you want to do?
Well, I know what.
Okay.
Accounting is like the person that is keeping money, the person that is taking charge of the money. Like you are working in a bank now. That's how we can see accountants. Accounting is the one that is working in a company or a school or anywhere. But accountants is the one that is working in a bank.
Okay.
According to what I know, accounting is a course in the university. In the university, I'm 10. Accounting is a course in the university. Anybody that wants to become an accountant has to read through accounting.
So basically, from what we've learned today, accounting is a course that you study in university, and it is accounting that MKO Abiola learned or read or studied in the University of Glasgow in Scotland, where the Nigerian government funded him to study abroad. Does anybody understand? So when he finished from the University of Glasgow, what do you think he would have been called? Should have allowed the children to answer. Okay.
So basically, the accountant is actually the person that is doing the accounting job, while accounting is basically the job. I mean the course, and accounts is like where the money is kept.
Fantastic. So does anybody have any questions for me about MKO Abiola? At least you learned that he was what? He was an accountant. Good. Does anybody have any question do you have a question? Do you have a comment about what I read? Yes? Yes?
But you didn't tell us the name of MK Abiola's wife. I know her name. Her name is Guda Yaro.
Wife. So that's why you have to buy the book. He had Simbiat was the first wife he married. She died later on, but then he eventually got married to Kudirat Abiola. That's a very good observation. Yes.
My teacher that Kudirat Abiola died while trying to protest.
as you rightly said, he was in prison. He was in prison, and then she was protesting and, protesting his imprisonment. And she was murdered while he was in prison. Yeah.
I have 2 questions. Okay, so the first one is that, did Kudirat Abiola have any children? And the second question is that, how did he die and why did they kill him? Because he was trying to protest for president. He won, and then they tried to kill him. Why?
Okay, so to be fair, right, how will I explain it to you? So he ran for government, he ran for president, and he was to be declared the winner. He ought to have been declared the winner. But at the time, it was the military government that was in power. And so they didn't hand him, they didn't allow him be declared the winner. It would appear that most of Nigerians at the time were tired of government in Nigeria and were happy to have a civilian president. So instead of the military, they will shift to a civilian. Do you know the difference between military and civilian government? What's the difference? I want to know that you understand what I'm saying.
Okay, let me try. Okay, I think a civilian government is someone that you vote without any issues. And the military is when you have to, I think, with force like kings and queens.
So let me answer your question. You were asking why he was killed. He wasn't killed, to the best of our knowledge. He died in prison. It's his wife that was killed protesting his imprisonment. Okay, so to be fair, we don't actually know. We were never told who killed her. She was murdered, right? It wasn't like anybody from government came out and killed her, or somebody said they are responsible for killing her. She was killed on her way somewhere. Yes. No. They have children, successful children abroad in America, doing things with their life. Yeah. And even some in Nigeria as well.
Yeah. But what did MKO Abiola do that made him like a kind of people that people look up to?
You asked what MKO Abiola did that made him very loved. To be fair, he has the typical Nigerian story. He started out poor like most people. He sponsored himself and his family through education. Then he started to climb. He studied, did well in school, got married, and started to build a career for himself. He owned businesses in different spheres. He owned an airline called Concorde Airline. He owned a radio house called RCN. He owned many things. So he was a businessman. And because he understood the struggles of Nigerians, Nigerians loved him. Yeah. In where? Where is it? Good. It's in Ikeja. Well done. What's your name? Fee. Nice to meet you, Fee. And nice to meet you, Feromi. And nice to meet you, Favor. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you.
Olamidotun Votu-Obada is a successful entrepreneur, a best-selling children's book author, a podcast host, and a prolific speaker. As a child, she read several books about great people, and this motivated her to be more than she ever dreamt of. Her children's love for stories about historic people inspired her journey into writing. Olamidotun's books have been celebrated in schools internationally for its diversity and inclusion.